That's to be determined. And while that is going on, here we continue, or kick off rather, our own series here. Will be the other TV. We have, again, this later. We are going to be spawning into Curious Minds LE. We're in the top left-hand corner map, spawning all the way to the top left-hand corner. We have a blue Terran player coming down from the land of Korea. He's going to be representing Shopify Rebellion. He is ByuN.
And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Curious Minds LE, we have the Chinese Protoss player. He is purple, representing Invictus Gaming. It is MacSed, our DreamHack Winter China champion.
With that SC boy pog.
SC boy?
Decal. SC boy. Look at that, he's pogging.
He's pogging out right now, and I am getting ready to pog as well if MacSed is able to do something against someone of the likes of the caliber of ByuN, because yeah, this isn't ByuN's. This is, I would say, ByuN's worst matchup right now.
Absolutely. And against MacSed specifically, you mentioned that he is the Time Slayer. Time does have that nickname in the Chinese scene as being the Chinese ByuN every now and then. It's brought up.
Yeah, Time.
So we'll see.
He'd be a very fast player, a very micro-intensive player. That's why everyone loves watching him. You know, he was able to gain a reputation for his style as a great player. But MacSed was able to knock him down in that last DreamHack. So yeah, he's someone that has been floating under the radar for a lot of people. Like MacSed, he's one of the older players. He's been around for a very long time in the pro scene, much longer than Time. And
it was MacSed, right? Not Cyan.
Oh my god, what's the Cyan? My apologies.
Wait, I just remember because we're like, wait,
true.
Wasn't it the player from Good Game?
Yeah. It was Cyan. Look, I'm sure MacSed and Cyan practice a lot together. Okay, it's fine.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
It is.
No, you're 100% right
honest,
though. It was Cyan.
And to be honest, the playstyles are very, very similar to in that regard as well. So it's not quite like who's the other one I'm thinking of? Not Cloudy. Cloudy retired.
Cloudy did retire. I'm talking about Firefly, maybe.
Probably Firefly. Yeah, before Firefly retired, I think.
Yeah.
We recalled Firefly as being the more distinct of the trio.
Man, it feels Cloudy, man. I liked Cloudy. He was if you remember, I can't believe that this was only a couple of years ago. I say a couple of years ago, like 2016. Cloudy and Time together went to Korea. And that's when Time started to rise because he was in Korea practicing with Cloudy.
Yeah.
And I was hoping that they would rise together, but one went on to success and the other became a caster.
Those are the two options.
Yeah.
Success or caster. That's why I'm casting.
Yeah, it feels bad, man. Cloudy. He had so much potential, but yeah. For those wondering, like, he's still around in the scene, but does cast instead.
No. Meanwhile, as we get into this game in particular, ByuN once again skipping his Reaper, but going for something quite a bit different as it is TvP.
Yeah, exactly. The Marine drop is already here across the map. Decent target fire there on the medevac, but the medevac survives. Oh my god. And with that, the Marines are able to push back those stalkers and target fire the drones, the probes.
Sentry does get sniped as well, wasting that force field. And all in all, it was a pretty costly start for ByuN, but one that, if you ask me, is well worth it. I mean,
oh yeah,
takes out the Sentry, gets a little bit of economic damage here.
For 4 Marines, getting a Sentry and getting 4 probes, well worth it, especially early on at this stage of the game. But what's important to note is because of this opener, like, ByuN isn't necessarily going into like Widow Mine drops or anything like that. This is kind of ByuN's style of play, going for a more bio-tank heavy composition and focusing on this more brute force style of TvP.
Yeah, he's building up just about everything for one
Up!
strong push. Very nice blink away.
Exactly, wouldn't mind does get sniped, but at least it does give ByuN a bit of a heads up. The tank already shelling away at the Stalkers, does force them back.
MacSed gonna have to think twice before trying to break that position, so instead, he decides to go for a third base.
Yeah, does goes for his third. At the same time, ByuN does harass a little bit across map with his Raven, does force a lot of lost mining time and 2 probe kills. And what's important to note is that those Stalkers came all the way back home.
ByuN has nothing to worry about now if he decides to go for a third base, but we know that he's not. He's very much that style of TvP player where he wants to hit very, very strong timings. He doesn't want to get too fancy with multi-prongs and whatnot.
Yeah, like the big downfall of ByuN, more from what I've seen more often than not, is that he does avoid Vikings. So because of that, Colossus can be like his kryptonite in a way, especially if there are enough of them. So we'll see how he approaches this.
Oh, it's not just the Vikings either. He just spent 100, I believe. Yeah, I believe 100 energy from that Raven to throw down 2 auto turrets that didn't really get that much damage, so it's gonna be a while before he even has a single disable ready.
True, but here we go, ByuN. He's getting ready to push out across the map. He's got his 3 tanks, and thankfully, MacSed does have eyes on this, so he's able to prepare. The first Colossus, I believe, is already out, so the second is on the way. But again, this is going to be a very strong push.
Very strong. Just look at that RB supply difference. Sim has already finished up, +1, about to be finished. With Combat Shield not too far behind either.
Yeah, exactly. What do we have? We do have a shield battery. We are going to have overcharged, but only a single Colossus, but a second one is about to pop out. Extended thermal lance still needs a little bit more time.
There are a couple of Marauders here. They're going to be trying to draw the fire away from the Colossus. MacSed really doesn't want to fight without thermal lance, but lucky for him, it's about to finish up.
God, there we go. It does kick in. Second Colossus is now here with the main army. Tanks are able to successfully reposition, though. Oh, God, I'm sure MacSed wants to try and catch them, but the Zealots are going to go first round.
Massive Zealot flank coming out here. ByuN trying to target fire down the Colossus as best he can, but they do get healed by the shield battery.
That they do. Thankfully, ByuN had a single tank there rallying across the map. With that, ByuN is able to hold the line on top of the ramp and force MacSed back. And ByuN, thankfully, he did have a third CC building behind this. So again, he wasn't all in by any means. He did have a backup plan if he wasn't able to end the game.
Like so.
Oh,
and it's nice to see ByuN building that Viking count. Really unfortunate that he lost the Raven, though.
Yeah, the Raven... I did deal some economic damage, but like, imagine a world where it was able to disable, right? Like, even one disable would have been so massive in that fight, in that engagement, but it just wasn't there. But I do want to commend ByuN. As you were saying, he is making Vikings. Like, thank God. So he is working on his anti-Colossus army.
Yeah, we're getting into the next phase of TvP where Protoss player tries to get as much anti-air AoE damage as possible, diversifying that as much as they can, whereas the Terran player is focusing on ghosts mostly.
Yeah, I would argue that this second robo is a little bit late, to be honest, from MacSed. Like, you need to get into your double robo production as soon as possible once you're saturated on 3 bases. So because of that, his disruptor count is going to be delayed. He only has 1 at the moment. It's going to take a while to really get up and running. So there is going to be a window here where ByuN can maybe abuse the fact that there aren't that many disruptors.
Jeez, that's a lot of zealots. It's running into a lot of bio too.
Yeah. Zealots
Which,
one.
if nothing else, it does drain a little bit of medevac energy.
Yeah, I mean, the Zealots wanted to go for a bit of a run by. That's the second time, actually. MacSed tried to hit that third base, but every single time ByuN has been in position and has denied it. Speaking of, MacSed is going again. Wants to set himself up, but ByuN already on his way.
Who is running by whom here? That's what I want to know. ByuN dives all the way to MacSed's end of the map, and doesn't really go all the way, commit all the way, I should say.
Yeah, it was a pretty big blow there. MacSed is trying to catch the army, but just barely isn't able to. Does get one Marauder at least. But MacSed has to be careful, because here comes the army pushing out across the map.
Slowly making its way, trying to get a little bit of a pincer on top of this army. A couple of well-placed EMPs is just about all ByuN needs here.
Exactly. On the flip side, you know, one solid disruptor shot, one purification of is maybe all that MacSed needs. Is once again he goes for a massive flank on the tanks.
And I think that's just about going to be it for this fight in particular. Those are some of the best EMPs I've seen in a long, long time. But
the Colossus!
he couldn't quite follow it up. Here comes the rest of the army, making its way on top of the Colossus, on top of the disruptors as well. Purification overs do not land, and with that, half of ByuN's army gets wiped out, but the rest of MacSed's army evaporates in thin air.
Mate, that was a massive flank. The fact that ByuN was able to come around and snipe all 3 Colossus and the disruptors as well was insane. MacSed had a beautiful fight. Like, that was the best fight imaginable, but he overextended and he didn't have eyes on the reinforcements of ByuN, and now ByuN is able to just close it out. GG gets called.
ByuN gonna take game number 1. I gotta be honest, like, I can't help but wonder how that fight would have gone differently if ByuN actually had the other half of his army in position.
I mean, honestly, I feel like that would have been better for MacSed. Like,
really?
Yeah, like, it was the fact that flank was what won ByuN the game. If that flank didn't exist, as in, like, if everything was balled up together for ByuN, then MacSed would have had an easier time and he wouldn't have lost the Colossus the way he did. Like, that was a huge move from ByuN. Oh god, things looking so good for MacSed, so good, but alas, ByuN was able to come out on top there. But it wasn't easy by any means.
Not at all. Again, I feel like MacSed really knows how to utilize his zealots here, how to catch the tanks in particular out of position, but you know, also a couple of ghosts got sniped. Did box a couple of bio units in for the disruptors to throw down a couple of novas. Yeah, those novas didn't really get the connections that he needed. I think there was like one decent connection towards the end. There was one. But I just loved the way that MacSed was engaging with the bio tank. I think there were 2 big fights where every single time, like, zealots would come in from the side and he would just swallow up the Terran army. It was beautiful to see. Beautiful. Yeah, it's pretty much what you should be doing here. At least when you get to the point where your AoE can almost buffer for itself. But yeah, in the end, it wasn't quite enough. But maybe this time it will, as we are loading into 2000's atmosphere. LE, we're in the top right-hand corner map, starting all the way in the top right-hand corner. We have a blue Terran player coming down from the land of Korea. He, of course, is going to be representing Shopify Rebellion. He is ByuN.
And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of 2000 Atmospheres LE, we have the Chinese Protoss player. He is red, representing Invictus Gaming. It is MacSed.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll see how ByuN approaches game number 2. I wonder if he was sweating after game 1. I don't know.
He's not good.
True. Doesn't need the towel, not yet.
The towel. It's only one. Only one, that's good enough. And again, ByuN skips out of the Reaper.
Yeah, it's just his thing, you know? It's crazy how greedy he is, how much he doesn't care what his opponent's doing, you know? He's like, sure, I give up on scouting information, but what I gain is a stronger, like, follow-up timing, right?
Well, that's the ideal. And it's worked out really well for him so far. Have to imagine that it'll run out at a certain point, though. He's scouting with the Marine? Oh, okay, just checking for proxies.
Yeah, he's just checking, he's scouting around, checking for those proxies. If you remember, like, the fact that he skipped the Marine did lead to an early medevac drop in game number 1, where he got in and he was able to get a couple of probe kills. So we'll keep an eye out and see if that's what he is planning to go for again. Meanwhile, MacSed, keep an eye on him. Is he going to go for a Blink Stalker opening, just like game number 1? And so far, it looks like the answer is yes.
So far. Could always be DTs.
Could, I guess, yeah. Not wrong.
Don't hear that too often, but
Could
take it while I can.
Could be Clay for depths, I guess.
Could be charge.
Could be a bait and switch to
Belts
go
work.
into fast storm drops.
Yeah. Could be Stargate
There you go.
from here.
Oh god. Meanwhile, we do see, of course, it is going to be Blink from MacSed, so everything's pretty standard from his side. Unfortunately, this Adept wasn't able to scout too much, wasn't able to get into the main base. Meanwhile, in that main base, we do see a decent amount of Marines, but also a couple of Widow Mines being set up for a drop.
Much more orthodox this time from the side of ByuN. He's gonna load up some Marines if that? No, okay. Just a standard double mine drop.
Yeah, and I kind of like it because it's not incredibly committed. You know, typically when we see mine drop openings, there's typically 4 Widow Mine drops, right? Like, well, there's 4 Widow Mines, I should say. But this is going to hit a little bit faster. Again, less committed. There's no armory. You don't need detection to clean this up. And his goal here is to try and catch MacSed with his pants down. Can he do it? Where are his pants? Up!
Okay, he does evacuate in time. Still 1 Widow Mine primed and ready to go. It's actually retargeting every time, so it doesn't load slowed. But it has to.
Yeah, ByuN, unfortunately, he unbarred a little bit too quickly. I don't know if you noticed, but his goal there was to get 2 probes, then unbar and pick both up. But he unbarred before the second shot went off, so he was only able to save 1 of his Widow Mines in the end. And that means, you know, that's a big weight off of Max's shoulders, you know? Only a single Widow Mine there. That's okay, that's manageable.
This is where the mind games come in, though.
Cool.
Because now ByuN knows that MacSed knows, okay, it's just 1 Widow Mine. So wait for the right point where MacSed is looking at his bases. They're trying to multi-prong with this Raven.
Yeah, we got a Raven headed towards the natural base. We got that Widow Mine that we were talking about earlier. We have that Marine count that's been slowly getting bigger. It's going to take a while for this to move out. You know, of course, he would want to wait for Stimmen +1, but that is what he's working towards after this aggression.
Slowly but surely. Alright, missile turret, auto turret gets thrown down, and MacSed does not reposition his stalkers. He knows he can just wait it out.
Yeah.
May as well.
He doesn't want to give that Widow Mine an opportunity to dive in. He's still waiting here. But now there we go. Finally, the stalkers are moving across towards that natural base. He has to get ready for the second auto turret.
They're just getting ready to blink down if need be, and
Up!
he doesn't need to. Oh, the sentry survives this time.
Jesus, but in comes that Widow Mine, does burrow. Medevac gets sniped. Oh, and so does the Widow Mine. But, mate, we were talking about Stim earlier. It's still not done, but here comes the Bio Army.
Yeah, look at Siege right on top of this. Right outside of this base. Now, no medevacs here this time to heal if need be, but once again, he doesn't need to.
Oh my god.
He hasn't even stimmed yet.
Oh, he can't stim. He just can't do it. But both tanks get sniped. The Marines, these vanilla Marines, they've got what are they going to do here? They're going to try and focus on whatever they can. And again, man with gun is still pretty terrifying.
It's going to get even more terrifying now that Stim is finished up. Stims moves on top of the ramp, and we're going to delete the entire mineral line if possible.
Wow,
He
down.
doesn't even need to. GG is called, and ByuN takes that series 2-0.
Wow.
I thought that was going to be the more standard game, but
So
evidently ByuN.
this reminded me of Miyamaka, I'm gonna be honest, where Miyamaka will have like upgrades on the way and he will like fight without them.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed, +1 attack finished after the game
Right
ended.
as the game ended, yep.
Yeah. It's like, mate, don't you need stim? It's like, nah, like ByuN, he smells blood in the water, or maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's just always smelling blood. He's like, it's always go time, you know? It's always time to just get things going, and he just sends it all across the map. He loses like a lot as a result, but at the same time, like, because he's hitting so early and because he's catching his opponent off balance, like it does damage anyway, you know? It's like such a weird way to play.
Yeah. Smelling blood all the time sounds like something you would have to see your doctor for, but in ByuN's case, works out for him.
Yeah.
Time, at least.
Oh my god. He does it in TvZ as well. You know, it's a thing where like, alright, armory's on the way, and then he like attacks with all his Hellions before the armory finishes. You know, it's like, oh, okay, well, sure, whatever. Yeah, crazy.
May as well. And with that, we have our first semifinals already prepared here. It is going to be a TvZ once again, Dark versus ByuN.